I would like to talk briefly about our criminal justice system. Many say it is flawed or broken. The reality of our prison system is this: it isn't broken. It's doing exactly what it was built to do. From the outside, you may think it's about justice, but from the inside, I can tell you it's about power, profit, and control. The system is never about rehabilitation. It was about creating a cycle that keeps people stuck mentally, emotionally, and physically. My story is not just a case of bad luck. It's a clear look at how the system is rigged. There's even a legal loophole in the 13th Amendment which keeps the door open for this exploitation. When I was 12 and a half years into my 16-year sentence, I was told I would be going home. A law had changed, allowing inmates to earn extra good time credits for good behavior. Because I had completed several programs, I had no violations or write-ups for over 10 years. Essentially, I was a model inmate. For 3 months, I walked on air. My family and I were counting the days. I thought I had made it. It was over. Then 2 weeks before my new release date, I got the news. Myself and 2 others had been procedurally barred by the Attorney General's office. The other 2 were barred due to institutional infractions. Myself, the only explanation that I was given was that the Attorney General's office determined that I should not qualify based on my charges. Approximately a week later, over 500 others were also procedurally barred thanks to a last-minute budget amendment that had reversed the early release program. Same story, same punishment, no warning. For me, that's when it clicked. It didn't matter what I do or how much I change. That was not what the system required. All the current system required is that a body be in place. It doesn't matter if I'm guilty or innocent, or if they are. It doesn't matter if the sentence is just or unjust, as long as somebody is in place. This is when I realized it was all for nothing. I started to look at my case and the laws, and I realized I had been classified and housed for over 14 years as a first-degree murderer, and I didn't even hurt anybody. Still to this day, if you look me up, it will say the same. Even though this is inaccurate and was a clerical error, the system refused to fix it. So not only do I still carry a first-degree murder charge on every background check, I was also housed for over 14 years with this charge. Then I was barred from early release because of the same clerical error. Our liberty was manipulated. It was toyed with. We aren't being rehabilitated. We were being indoctrinated into a system to be worse, to be bitter, to be resentful and angry. In prison, you are taught to be lost. Not the first person to say that this system is doing what it was built to do. Bryan Stevenson, who's fought for decades to expose injustice through the Equal Justice Initiative, once said, "Each of us is more than the worst thing we've ever done." That line stuck with me because the system doesn't believe that. It reduces people to their worst moment, or in my case, to an error it refuses to fix, and keeps them there. What I'm saying today isn't new, but it's personal, and it's time that people start listening. This isn't a system that accidentally fails people. It's a machine built to do what it's doing, keep folks stuck. People love to quote the 13th Amendment like it was some grand turning point, and yeah, it ended slavery, kinda, because it also says, except as a punishment for crime. That tiny clause built an entire industry off incarceration. That's not reform, that's business. People inside work for an average of 35 cents an hour, sometimes less. Not because they're learning some skills or rebuilding their lives. but because someone else profits from it. That's not a glitch. That's the model. That exception has birthed a billion-dollar industry that relies on prison labor. If that's not legalized exploitation, I don't know what is. This isn't a bug in the system, it's a feature. It allowed prisons to profit off incarcerated labor, and it gives states and private companies a motive to keep sales full. When you're working for pennies while someone else gets paid, you're not being reformed, you're being used. Let me bring it home to Virginia. After all the shenanigans and emotional turmoil caused by the lawmakers, not only on inmates but also on their family, and all of this happening during the COVID-19 pandemic, the prison was on lockdown, there were no visits, drugs were running rampant, and tension was at an all-time high. The hopelessness inside that institution was so thick you could taste it. One evening, I found myself in a heated discussion with a trainee and her training officer. During this interaction, the trainee confessed to me that her only reason for being there was a paycheck. And that was her justification for the nasty attitude she conducted herself with. If you look me up on paper, I am a violent gang member, and I was getting ready to go home. After pointing this out to her, I asked her clearly, knowing that about me, do you want to piss me off right before I'm back on the streets with your family? This was not intended as a threat to her or her family, because I then proceeded to explain the position of profound power she holds in making broken people bitter or better. This interaction is not a unique one. It is common. The system and most employed by it care very little about the humans it ensnares. In Virginia, good time credits and parole aren't about rewarding change. They're tools of control. Used the right way, they could encourage accountability. But instead, they're used to keep the machine running, to keep cells full, and to punish anyone who refuses to play along. That directly contradicts everything we're taught about this country. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness doesn't mean much when your freedom can be delayed, denied, or priced out. The truth is, liberty isn't earned in this system, it's leveraged. Let's talk numbers, because the scale of this thing matters. Nationwide, 68% of people released from prison are rearrested within 3 years. That jumps to nearly 83% within 9 years. This is from the Bureau of Justice Statistics, 2018. That's not because people aren't trying. It's because the system is built to trap them. The prison population isn't spread out evenly either. Black Americans make up about 13% of the U.S. population, 37% of prison populations. Latino and Hispanic communities also face disproportionate incarceration rates. This is from the Prison Policy Initiative in 2023. And did you know that Native Americans are locked up at more than twice the national average? And where are most incarcerated people coming from, do you think? They come from low-income, high-police neighborhoods, predominantly black and brown areas. That's not a coincidence. That's a pattern. The impact doesn't stop with the person being locked up. Over 45% of U.S. adults have had an immediate family member incarcerated. This is also from the Prison Policy Initiative in 2022. In black communities, that number jumps significantly. By 2010, about 8% of all adults in the U.S. had a felony conviction. But for black men, it was 1 in 3. National Library of Medicine, 2018. These stats aren't random. They're built into the system. Designed outcomes, not side effects. Family visits get treated like privileges, not rights. Rehabilitation is more about optics than outcomes, and reentry programs become less about helping us and more about helping the state get paid. Let that sink in. Liberty is on the table, and it's negotiable. The Declaration of Independence says we all have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But what happens when our liberty depends on whether a politician needs a talking point or whether the state needs more funding? That's not just hypocrisy, that's structural betrayal. When liberty becomes a commodity, something traded, delayed, or denied for profit, we betrayed those values, the values that built this country. You can't sell freedom while mass producing incarceration, and you can't promise liberty while writing slavery into law. When I was released, I thought it would get easier. But reentry programs don't prepare you for the silence, the disconnection from the world that kept moving while you were frozen in place. You're dropped into a life that doesn't fit, surrounded by people you don't understand and who couldn't possibly understand the weight you're carrying. This system keeps you by breaking the humanity in you, then releasing you to break others. Hurt people, and thus the cycle continues. The truth is, the only person who ever invested in rehabilitating me was me. The Department of Corrections doesn't want me to succeed. They want me to come back. And there have been days I almost did. Surviving out here is hard, especially when you don't have a support system, you don't have a plan, or even a place to go. And the reentry program didn't help me with that. It was on me to figure that out. And if I didn't have some fight left in me, I wouldn't be standing here now. That's just the truth. I want to be clear. I'm not here seeking sympathy. I am okay with who I am as a man. I am simply sharing what any observant individual would have seen had they walked in my shoes. This system isn't malfunctioning. It's working exactly how it's designed to. It's legal, it's profitable, and it's destroying lives, especially in communities already pushed to the margins. Mass incarceration isn't some unfortunate side effect. It's the plan. You can't promise liberty while institutionalizing an exception for slavery. And you can't sell freedom while mass producing incarceration. So the next time someone tells you the system is broken, I want you to remember, some machines aren't broken. They were built to crush. But we don't have to live in their design. There is another way. And if no one else is making room for it, we will. This brings us to the vision of the Ronin Project, a nonprofit organization I co-founded because too many people leave that system with nothing but trauma and survival instincts. I need to change that. We are here to help folks who have been through it, veterans, returning citizens, survivors of abuse, people in crisis, people in pain. We give them ways to heal through movement, art, creativity, but most importantly, connection. We may feel broken or lost. We may be overwhelmed with grief, depression, or even physical pain. But we do not have to be isolated. We are not alone. At Ronin, we are using our pain. We are using our trauma. And we're building. These blocks are foundation blocks. What if we could turn our suffering into a cornerstone of a more unified and connected community? Since I have been home, I complained a lot. I remember the words of a good friend of mine. Stop crying and do something about it. So I am. We are. In truth, all we are really missing is each other. So if you or anyone else has interest in our expanding community, please check us out at www.roninproject.org. We are building a better way, because we've been through the worst. We're reclaiming what the system has tried to strip from us: purpose, our connection, our humanity. We're not waiting for permission. We're taking our liberation from the ground up.